Today, I'm reviewing the FiiO FP3 planar magnetic in-ear monitors. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. This, as far as I know, is FiiO's first planar driver IM, and that's what the box looks like. Inside, you get the usual stuff. They're still going with this weird Lego drawer for a case for some reason. I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much. It's obviously you're not going to stick that in your pocket. I'm not exactly sure why they still use that, but great if you're a Lego fan. Anyway, let's bring in the IMs, and there they are. Now these come in two colorways. This one I believe is called the Rosewood, and I think the other one is a walnut, which is a darker wood. That's real wooden faceplates. Now this one comes with the rose gold highlights, which I'm personally not a fan of. I think they look it looks very plasticky and a bit chintzy. By the way, the price of these is just $89, so it's not a premium price. So you can expect a bit of plastic, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the rose gold. The walnut one, or the darker version, has a silver ring around it. So you can see they're nice and small, they're not very large, they're fairly comfortable, nice long stems, so you can get a pretty good insertion. And yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with the build. So $89, and the driver inside is a 14.5mm planar driver. Now the cable that comes with the IMs is this one here, silver plated copper. It's pretty nice. It's a little bit stiff, but it handles well, doesn't have microphonics. Overall, it's a pretty solid cable for an IM around this price point. But enough with all that, it's time to talk about the sound. So let's talk about the sound. And the FP3 has a bit of a V-shaped sound signature. It's got an elevated bass response, a slightly recessed mid-range, and a sort of upfront treble. It has a slightly thin note size, but that's sort of compensated somewhat by an above average technical performance graph. Let's talk about the bass first of all, and look, the lows on the FP3, they're pretty hefty, impactful, got a bit of slam, tastefully elevated mid bass, more so than the sub bass, but thanks to the planar driver's speed and agility, the bass doesn't cause any smearing in the mids. It's not a bloaty bass at all, it's super fast and responsive. Bass attacks are clean and precise with a satisfying amount of texture. And like I said, the sub bass is less emphasized in quantity, but the extension and the depth of the sub bass are still excellent. So overall, it's a pretty satisfying bass response. Now for the mid-range, that V-shaped tuning results in a slightly recessed mid-range, which means the lower mids and male vocals are a little bit pulled back in the mix. But despite this, the mid-range retains excellent clarity and texture, and there's a bit of a boost in the upper mids, which brings female vocals more to the forefront, giving them extra brightness and definition. So that planar driver means nice snappy transients, which contribute to the mid-range's sense of space and cleanliness with no signs of congestion. The note weight is a little bit thin though in the mid-range, which gives the FP3 more articulation than warmth or richness. Then there is the treble, and look, the treble performance is the only factor that kind of makes me hesitant to fully endorse the FP3. It's a lively and detailed treble, but it skirts the edge of sharpness. It's a weird one. Like, there is sibilance now and then, and the occasional sort of thin crash cymbals, but while that sibilance is present occasionally, it's only really noticeable on certain recordings. I noticed it more actually with podcasts and YouTube videos, like talking videos, more so than with music. But occasionally, yeah, if a track is poorly recorded, these aren't very forgiving when it comes to sibilance. But the treble is crisp and sparkly, it's very detailed, almost great. There is of course that massive dip after around 10 to 11 kilohertz. Yeah, I guess they had to do that to try and sort of maintain the overall timbre, which is not perfect. It's still got definitely planar elements in the timbre of the instruments and tone and whatnot. But we are talking sub $100, so you can't expect too much. Although nowadays we kind of do, because we've been spoiled. We're spoiled little brats when it comes to the sub $100 range. We've got so much to choose from. Now let's talk about the soundstage and technicalities. Now those transients that I mentioned, the fast transients, they help maintain clarity in the soundstage and prevent any blurring. The stage dimensions are fairly average. Instrument separation is excellent, and the imaging is pretty solid. You can determine the placement of instruments fairly easily. Micro detail retrieval is very good. And yeah, the FP3 often picks up very small micro details that some other IEMs miss completely. So overall, the technical performance is pretty good. Let's do a couple of comparisons. Now I'm going to start with the Leture S08. Now the S08 is a bit more expensive. I think it was like $99 or maybe $109 or something like that. The S08 does have metal shells, and I prefer the shells. I find them to be a bit more stable in my ear, a little bit more comfortable. But as far as the sound goes, the S08 has more sub-bass extension. It's got more weight in the low frequencies. It's got a bit more authority in the lows. And that combined with a more relaxed upper mid-range compared to the FP3 gives the S08 a warmer overall tonality, but it kind of compensates that by pulling the upper bass back slightly. It's difficult to explain, like the upper bass is leaner on the S08, but overall the tonality sounds a little more full. The note weight is a little fatter. But anyway, S08's soundstage slightly narrower than the FP3, but both have a similar level of resolution. Now let's look at the Fine planar. I couldn't remember the name there. The Fine planar. Now this one again, a bit more expensive, $119 I think it was when I reviewed it. I probably should have reviewed the Kiwi Ears Melody or something sub 100, but so the planar is another V-shaped IEM. It has better sub-bass extension again, but slightly less punch in the mid-bass. It's got less lift in the presence region, which once again, like the S08, makes it a bit warmer than the FP3. And the planar's treble is more even. It doesn't have a massive dip like the FP3 does. But at the same time, it still gives a similar level of detail retrieval, but with more note weight. So out of the three, look, the S08 would probably be my choice out of these three, but remember, it is more expensive than the FP3. Looking at it in a vacuum, or, you know, just looking at the FP3 by itself, it is a good IEM. We remember it's only $89. You get a good quality cable. The build quality is pretty good, especially if you like that aesthetic of the wooden faceplates. I hesitate to give them my full recommendation just because sibilance is a problem for me. I find it really unpleasant when it does occur, although it only occurs occasionally with this IEM, but when it does, it really bugs me. So to sum up, I would say the FiiO FP3 is a good IEM. It's not a great one. I think if you buy these for $89, you are getting your money's worth, but there might be, well, I would say there are better alternatives in the sub $100 range, most notably from some of those better single dynamic driver IEMs, but FiiO is off to a good start with their first planar, and I would be very interested if they maybe stepped it up, moved up to the next price tier with their next planar IM and see what happens. Either that or just, you know, have another crack at it with a slightly revised tuning. It would be interesting to see, because FiiO, as you know, they do so much good stuff. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, PAR Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.